So today my clutch came for my sled. I think I had mentioned it in a previous video. I was going to change this clutch out on it. That one has 10,000 miles on it. It's just time. So I guess what had happened was I got my, I ordered a Powerbloc 80 from CV Tech. And I'm going to try it out on this sled. I've been in contact with CV Tech. And, you know, I was kind of concerned because a lot of people are running these 998 turbos and they're not stock. And I was kind of concerned that maybe the Powerbloc wouldn't accommodate that, but they assured me that it will and that they have various weights and springs and things to make her work. So I'm going to test it out today. Now, I will say that I'm not sponsored by CV Tech or Road Distributing in any way. Put that out there right now. This is all just for my own research and just to kind of share my results and my opinions. Okay, so I'm going to start the sled as a sound comparison with the team clutch on it. I'll let you hear the sound with the panel on and the panel off. Again, just as a sound comparison. As you can tell, it is fairly noisy. You know, I didn't realize it was. You really take that panel off, it dampens a lot of the sound, but the clutch is really noisy. So again, that's just a comparison. So here we are, out to do our little test with the team clutch. We're going to test engagement and probably see what the RPMs are at 30 miles an hour. I'm going to apologize right now. It's going to be shaky, but I'll do my best to record the whole thing for you. Here we go. So I just pulled her back in the shop. We were outside, did a little test to see where it engages and to also see where approximately it runs at 30 miles an hour. I made 2 runs there. Looked like it was approximately 53, 5400. I'll have to review the footage to be sure, but at 30 miles an hour. So now I'm going to pop this team clutch off and get it switched out for the Powerbloc. So I would say step 1 in this whole process is to remove your belt. I'm sure that's pretty straightforward, but use it by screwing your tool into here, which opens your sheaths, drops the belt down in so it has slack. I would recommend that you take note of your belt deflection. And after the other clutch is installed, we may have to adjust that. So we will go from there. But step 1, remove your belt. So now with your belt off, the next step is to remove the bolt in here, which for the record is a 1/2 inch 12 point. Wow, and that is just barely long enough. Never even thought about getting a deep socket, but I literally just bought this. And anyway, it almost could have been a deep socket. Surely to goodness it'll bite that bolt enough to pull it out. We will see. Success, the socket was long enough. There we are, we got our clutch bolt out. Now we will get our puller. So now I've got my factory puller here in a 3/4 socket. I like to put a little dab of grease on the end of that where it butts in against the crank to help it rotate. So now what we'll do is thread this in. And I would highly recommend putting a piece of wood or something through the clutch here to stop it from rotating. This would be making the motor rotate backwards. 4-stroke sled, that's a big no-no. So we really don't want that clutch to turn. So I would recommend getting a pipe, or I would say a piece of wood because it's more forgiving. Put through your clutch here somehow that you can hold it so it cannot spin while you give this a few taps with the impact to get some pressure on it. So here we are. It's actually an old pull cue, which I had cut down, and anyways, that'll work great. Rest it against this clutch, put my hand on it here, and use the other one on the impact. Unfortunately, I can't have the third hand to hold my phone, so I won't be able to do that on camera, but it should go pretty straightforward. Okay, so it popped right off. I ended up tightening this in basically as much as I could with the impact. Gave it a tap right on the end of the puller with the hammer. Boom, clutch popped right off without much effort. So now I'm gonna get the taper cleaned up here a little bit, and I'll dig out the Powerbloc. So here's what comes in the box. Obviously your Powerbloc clutch, a new bolt, washer, some weights. And apparently this is a tool that they want you to use to adjust your deflection. Now, just my initial thoughts on this is I do not like that, because you use that same threaded hole to get your belt on and off. So hoping I don't need it, but we will see what happens here. So now I've got the clutch set on there, got this bolt in finger tight. Now I'm going to torque it down again. Hold this clutch. We do not want this motor to roll over backwards. Torque it down to the manufacturer's spec on the clutch bolt, and you should be good to go. So here we are now. I got it torqued. It was not easy. Holy cow, trying to hold that clutch so it doesn't roll backwards and getting it torqued, it was a challenge. I ended up actually using a big wrench on this nut while I'm torquing this bolt. It seemed to work okay. For me, I don't know if I'd recommend that for you. May or may not work, but you're on your own in that way kind of thing. But now the next step is to put the belt on, check the deflection. So here we are, I got my belt on. It looks like my deflection's maybe a little loose. It may not be sitting completely in the secondary, so before I adjust anything, I'm actually gonna pick the back end of the sled up. I highly recommend doing that. And then start the sled and maybe run the track, spin it a bit, and shut the sled back off again, and then check my deflection after that. Go from there. Okay, so we're gonna do a sound comparison with the Powerbloc. Installed. We're gonna give her a little test. It engages so smooth, and I've noticed it's extremely quiet, and I guess that is compared to my 10,000 miles on my team clutch, but anyway, it's all relative. We'll give her a try here. I'll show you what it engages at. It's quite a bit lower. So I just get back in from my test, the Powerbloc. Now I would recommend that maybe you retorque your bolt. I ended up not using this adjuster back here to adjust my deflection. I don't know if you can tell or not, my belt is sitting quite high in the clutch anyway. And it actually engages good, runs smooth, no trouble at all to shift in reverse. I will say the clutch is quite warm, but it's also been put through its paces there, so that is to be expected. But again, I would recommend retorquing that bolt, and it should be good to go for many, many miles. Now, I highly recommend these clutches, from my experience. We'll soon find out when we get out in the trail and see what it really does. So here I am back. This is probably 3 or 4 days later. I've actually had this sled on probably, I don't know, 80 to 100 mile ride. My impressions after that ride is there is no comparison between this clutch and my old one. Now I get it, my old one is basically worn out. And this one's brand new, I know that, but to me, this sled pulls crazy mid-range. Like it's just like it has a clutch kit put in it. Is the difference between the old clutch and the new one. So I would highly recommend it. I mean, it's very cost effective. I know it's not the most high-tech thing and, you know, fancy and all that stuff, but it works extremely well on this sled, and I really don't think you can go wrong. So please like, share, and subscribe, and tune in next time, and we'll see what kind of projects we got on the go then. Thanks.